Imagine the weight of betrayal pressing down on your soul, the sting of unjust words echoing in your mind, and the ache of a wound inflicted not by strangers, but by those you trusted the most. You've cried out in silence, your heart heavy with questions that seem to have no answers. Why did this happen to me? Where is justice when I need it most? The pain is undeniable, the scars real. And yet, in the quiet moments when the world seems still, there's a whisper, a gentle assurance that justice is on its way. Have you ever wondered why God allows such wounds in the first place? Why He permits those who hurt us to walk free while we carry the burden of their actions? The truth, my friend, is profound and divine. God is not blind to your pain, nor is He deaf to your cries. His justice is not swift by our standards, but it is always certain. He watches, He sees, and He orchestrates His plans with precision far beyond what we can comprehend. Trust in Him, for His timing is perfect, and His justice is relentless. Consider the way the seasons change. The harshest winter cannot prevent the coming of spring. Even when the ground is frozen and barren beneath the surface, life stirs. God's justice works in much the same way. It may seem delayed, hidden from view, but it is unfolding in ways that will reveal themselves at the appointed time. Justice in God's hands is not about quick retribution, but about restoration, redemption, and the lessons He wants to impart. Now pause and reflect for a moment. Have you ever felt the stirrings of divine intervention in your life? Those moments when, despite the darkness, a glimmer of hope shines through a reminder that you are not alone in your pain. Perhaps you've noticed the subtle ways God works, a word of encouragement when you needed it most, a situation that shifts unexpectedly in your favor, or a sense of peace that settles over your restless heart. These are not mere coincidences. They are signs that God is working behind the scenes, preparing a justice that will not only heal your wounds, but also reveal His glory. God's justice is not like the justice of man. It is not fueled by anger or revenge, but by love and purpose. When He acts, it's not merely to punish those who have wronged you, but to teach, to restore, and to bring about a greater good. He uses what was meant for harm to shape you, strengthen you, and prepare you for what lies ahead. But here's the key. He calls you to trust Him, to remain silent, and to let Him work in His way and time. Silence is not weakness, it is a declaration of trust. It is saying, Lord, I believe that You see what I cannot, and I trust You to handle what I cannot. The silence God asks of us is not an empty silence. It is filled with faith, with prayer, and with a quiet strength that refuses to be shaken by the storm. It's in this silence that you find your greatest ally, God Himself, working on your behalf. And while the world may misinterpret your silence as surrender, God sees it as an act of worship, a sign of your reliance on His power rather than your own. Think about this. Every seed buried in darkness eventually pushes through to the light. Your silence, your trust, your patience, they are the fertile soil in which God's justice takes root. And when it comes, it will not only bring healing to you, but also reveal the truth to those who have wronged you. They will see, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that it was never your battle to fight, but God's. Now let us delve into the signs, the unmistakable ways God reveals that His justice is near. These signs are His way of reminding you to trust Him, to stay silent, and to hold on to His promises. Pay close attention, for these are not just signs of justice, they are signs of His unfailing love and faithfulness. Sign 1. A sudden shift in circumstances. Have you ever experienced a moment when everything seemed bleak, and then, almost out of nowhere, circumstances began to change in your favor? It feels like a gust of wind sweeping through your life, clearing away the debris of pain and injustice. This is no accident. It is the hand of God moving on your behalf, orchestrating a shift so profound that it leaves you in awe. A sudden change in circumstance is often the first sign that God's justice is coming, and it serves as a powerful reminder that He sees your pain, hears your cries, and is actively working to restore what was broken. Such shifts are not random. They are deliberate and precise, timed perfectly to align with God's plan for your life. Consider how the walls of Jericho fell not because of the strength of man, but because of God's intervention. In the same way, when circumstances begin to shift unexpectedly, it's a divine signal that God is tearing down the walls of injustice in your life. You might have spent years feeling trapped, overlooked, or mistreated, but when God decides it's time, no force on earth can stand in the way of His justice. These shifts often begin subtly, like the first rays of sunlight after a long, dark night. Perhaps a job opportunity comes your way that allows you to step out of a toxic environment. Maybe someone who once belittled you suddenly finds themselves in a position where they must acknowledge your worth. Or it could be as simple yet profound as a new friendship or support system entering your life, reminding you that you are not alone. Each of these changes is God's way of setting the stage for justice. However, it's important to recognize that these shifts are not always easy to accept at first. Sometimes the change comes in the form of loss, letting go of relationships, habits, or environments that no longer serve you. It may feel like God is removing pieces of your life, but in reality, He is rearranging them for something far greater. What may seem like a setback is often a setup for a breakthrough. Trust that every sudden shift, even the painful ones, is part of His divine plan. Scripture is filled with examples of God shifting circumstances to bring justice. Think of Joseph, who was betrayed by his own brothers and sold into slavery. For years it seemed as though injustice would have the final say in his life. But then, in a single moment, everything changed. Joseph was elevated from the darkness of a prison cell to the light of Pharaoh's court. What his brothers intended for harm, God used for good. This is the power of a sudden shift in circumstances, a reminder that God's justice is not bound by time or human limitations. As these shifts occur, you might notice that the very people who caused your pain begin to face challenges of their own. This is not for you to celebrate, but to reflect on the way God balances the scales of justice. Their struggles are not for you to focus on. Instead, they are a reminder to keep your eyes on the one who fights your battles. Your role is not to seek revenge or demand accountability from them, but to trust that God is handling everything in His perfect way. In these moments of change, it's crucial to remain silent and steadfast. Resist the urge to interfere or take matters into your own hands. God does not need your help to deliver justice. He only requires your faith and patience. Silence in the face of a shifting tide is not a sign of weakness, but of strength. It demonstrates your unwavering belief that God is working, even when you cannot see the full picture. A sudden shift in circumstances also serves to prepare your heart for what's to come. It's a reminder that God is not just interested in justice for your situation, but in your growth and transformation. He uses these changes to strengthen your faith, refine your character, and draw you closer to Him. In the process, you begin to see the bigger picture, that your pain was never wasted, and every tear you shed was a seed for the harvest He is now bringing into your life. So, when you notice these shifts happening, don't question them. Don't resist them. Instead, embrace them as a sign that God's justice is unfolding. Trust that He knows exactly what He's doing, even if it feels uncomfortable or uncertain at first. Remember, God's plans are always for your good, and His justice is always perfect. The sudden changes in your life are not just signs of His justice, they are proof of His deep love for you. Sign 2. Unexplainable peace in your heart. There's a stillness that can descend upon your soul, even in the midst of chaos. It's a peace that defies logic and transcends human understanding, a divine gift that reassures you that justice is near. This unexplainable peace is not something the world can offer. It is a sign that comes from God alone, a whisper from heaven reminding you that He is in control. When you feel this peace, it's as if the weight of your struggles is lifted, even though nothing outwardly has changed. This is one of the clearest signs that God is working behind the scenes on your behalf. Have you ever experienced this? In the middle of your pain, when everything seems uncertain, you suddenly feel a calm that you cannot explain. It's not because your problems have vanished or the people who hurt you have apologized. No, it's something far deeper. It's the presence of God settling over your heart, reminding you that the battle is His, not yours. This peace is not passive, it's powerful. It strengthens your spirit, silences your fears, and gives you the courage to keep moving forward without the need for revenge or vindication. This peace often comes when you finally surrender your hurt and anger to God. It doesn't mean you've forgotten what was done to you, nor does it mean you've stopped feeling the pain. Rather, it means you've chosen to trust God with the outcome. You've handed over the burden of justice to the one who is infinitely more capable of delivering it. In return, He gives you His peace, a peace that says, "I see your pain, I know your struggle, and I am already working it out for your good." What's remarkable about this peace is how it shields you from bitterness. Bitterness is a trap that ensnares the soul, keeping you locked in a cycle of anger and resentment. But when God gives you His peace, it's like a protective barrier around your heart. It keeps you from being consumed by the wrongs done to you and allows you to focus on healing and growth. This peace doesn't mean you're ignoring the injustice. It means you're trusting God to handle it in His way and time. Consider Jesus during His greatest moment of betrayal. As He faced false accusations, abandonment, and even death, He carried Himself with a peace that astonished everyone around Him. That peace wasn't born out of ignorance or denial. It was rooted in His unwavering trust in the Father's plan. In the same way, when you feel this unexplainable peace, it's a sign that God is inviting you to rest in His plan. He is assuring you that, while the road may be hard, His justice will prevail. This peace doesn't just affect you, it also has a way of unsettling those who wronged you. They expect you to react with anger, to lash out, or to crumble under the weight of their actions. But when you respond with peace, it confounds them. It reveals a strength they cannot comprehend, a strength that comes from knowing that God is your defender. Your peace becomes a silent testimony to the power of God at work in your life. In these moments of peace, God often begins to reveal His purpose for your pain. You may start to see how your struggles are shaping you into someone stronger, more compassionate, and more resilient. You realize that while the actions of others were meant to harm you, God is using them to refine you. This realization deepens your peace, because it shifts your focus from what was done to you to what God is doing in you. Unexplainable peace is also a sign of God's protection. It's as if He places a shield around your heart, preventing the words and actions of others from breaking you. This doesn't mean you won't feel hurt, but it does mean that their actions won't have the final say. God's peace reminds you that your story is not over and that He is the author of your justice. When you feel this peace, it's a signal to hold steady, to trust in His timing, and to resist the temptation to take matters into your own hands. This peace is often accompanied by a sense of clarity. The confusion and turmoil that once clouded your mind begin to lift, and you can see your situation through a new lens. You start to understand that the people who hurt you are not as powerful as they seemed, and their actions are not the defining moments of your life. God's peace helps you see beyond the immediate pain to the greater picture He is painting. It allows you to let go of the need for immediate answers and to rest in the assurance that His plan is unfolding perfectly. One of the most profound aspects of this peace is how it draws you closer to God. In the quietness of your heart, you feel His presence more deeply than ever before. You realize that, even in your pain, He has never left you. His peace becomes a reminder of His love, His faithfulness, and His commitment to see you through. It's in this peace that you find the strength to stay silent, to resist the urge to retaliate, and to trust that His justice will come in ways far greater than you could ever imagine. When you feel this unexplainable peace, embrace it. It is a gift from God, a sign that He is near and that His justice is on the way. Let it be your anchor in the storm, your refuge in the chaos, and your reminder that you are not alone. Trust that this peace is not the end of the story, but the beginning of God's work to bring justice into your life. Sign 3. Their own actions begin to expose them. There comes a time when the truth can no longer hide in the shadows. Those who have wronged you may have gone to great lengths to cover their actions, manipulate the narrative, or paint themselves in a light that makes them seem blameless. Yet as God begins to work, their own choices and actions start to unravel their facade. This is not merely coincidence, it is a divine act of justice. God, in His infinite wisdom, allows their behavior to become the very instrument of their exposure. What they once did in secret begins to surface, and their intentions are laid bare for all to see. Have you ever wondered why those who seem to prosper by deceit eventually fall? It's because lies and injustices are like seeds planted in rocky soil. They cannot take root and will inevitably wither. God's justice operates with a precision that ensures those who hurt others are not left unaccountable. When their actions begin to expose them, it is a clear sign that God is at work. He is revealing the truth, not just for your sake, but for theirs as well, giving them an opportunity to face their wrongs and repent. Often the exposure starts subtly. It might be an offhand comment they make, a careless mistake, or a decision that backfires. These moments might seem small at first, but they set the stage for a larger revelation. Their attempts to control the narrative begin to crumble as God allows circumstances to unfold in ways they never anticipated. It is as if their own actions turn against them, showing the world and themselves the truth of who they are and what they have done. This exposure is not about humiliating them, it is about justice and restoration. God is not vindictive, but He is righteous. He does not delight in bringing someone low, but He allows the truth to come to light, because it is necessary for healing and growth. When someone's actions expose them, it is a sign that God's justice is both compassionate and corrective. He is giving them a chance to see their own reflection in the mirror of their deeds and to make amends should they choose to do so. For you, witnessing this exposure can be a deeply emotional experience. On one hand, it may feel validating to see the truth come out after enduring so much pain and injustice. On the other hand, it can also stir feelings of pity or sadness for the person who hurt you. This duality is natural because you are witnessing the complex interplay of God's justice and mercy. He is not just working for you, He is working for them too, though it may look different. Think of how God exposed the actions of those who opposed His will in the Bible. One example is King David, who was a man after God's own heart but fell into sin. David tried to cover his wrongdoing, yet God, in His justice, brought the truth to light through the prophet Nathan. This exposure was not to destroy David, but to correct him, to lead him back to righteousness. In the same way, when God allows someone's actions to expose them, it is a form of divine intervention aimed at bringing justice and encouraging transformation. When this sign begins to manifest, it's important for you to stay silent and let God handle the situation. The temptation to step in, to point out their faults, or to seek revenge can be strong, but this is not your battle to fight. Trust that God's timing is perfect and that His ways are higher than yours. He knows exactly how to bring the truth to light in a way that accomplishes His purposes. Your role is to remain patient, to focus on your own healing, and to allow God to work through their exposure. Sometimes this exposure will come through external circumstances. People may begin to notice inconsistencies in their behavior, or situations may arise that reveal the true nature of their actions. Other times it will come from within. Their guilt, pride, or arrogance may lead them to make choices that expose them further. Either way, it is a reminder that no one can escape the watchful eye of God. He sees all, knows all, and ensures that the truth will not stay hidden forever. What's remarkable about this process is how it serves as a turning point for both parties. For the one who has been wronged, it is a moment of vindication and healing. It shows you that God has not forgotten your pain and that His justice is unfolding in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. For the one who caused harm, it is an opportunity to confront their actions and, hopefully, seek forgiveness and change. God's justice is always redemptive, aiming to restore relationships and hearts wherever possible. This exposure also serves as a lesson for everyone involved. It reminds you of the power of truth and the futility of trying to hide from God's justice. It teaches you that while you may not always see immediate results, God is always at work aligning events and circumstances to reveal His glory. And it reinforces the importance of trusting that God's justice is perfect and that His timing, though it may test your patience, is always right. As you witness this sign, lean into your faith. Pray not only for your healing but also for the person who is being exposed. Ask God to use this moment to bring about transformation in their life and to help you release any lingering bitterness or anger. Remember, God's justice is not just about balancing the scales, it's about creating opportunities for everyone to grow closer to Him. When their own actions begin to expose them, take it as a divine confirmation that God is working. It is a sign that He has heard your cries, seen your tears, and is actively intervening on your behalf. Trust in His plan, stay silent, and allow Him to continue His work in both your life and theirs. Sign 4. Opportunities for growth in your life. One of the most profound and often overlooked signs that God's justice is on its way is the sudden appearance of opportunities for growth in your life. When you're hurt by others, it's easy to focus solely on the pain and injustice, but God often shifts your attention by opening new doors, giving you chances to grow spiritually, emotionally, and even materially. These opportunities are not mere distractions from your hurt, they are a divine response to it. They serve as a reminder that while others may have tried to diminish you, God is elevating you. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. To the outside world, it appears as though nothing is happening, but beneath the surface, growth is occurring. That seed has to push against the weight of the earth above it to break through. In the same way, the weight of the hurt you've endured is not meant to bury you, but to strengthen you. And when God sees that you've reached a point where you're ready, He provides opportunities that allow you to rise above the pain and step into a new chapter. These opportunities often come in unexpected forms. It could be a new job, a creative idea, a supportive community, or even a shift in perspective that helps you see your life differently. They may not erase the injustice you've faced, but they redirect your focus toward what God is doing in your life now. These openings serve as a divine reminder that your pain does not define you, and the actions of others do not determine your destiny. What's remarkable about these opportunities is how they often align with your healing process. As you begin to step into new roles, try new things, or embrace new relationships, you realize that the hurt you endured has equipped you with a resilience you didn't know you had. The very experiences that were meant to break you become the foundation for your growth. This is God's justice at work, not just in balancing the scales, but in transforming what was meant for harm into something that benefits you. Take Joseph's story, for example. After being betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, and imprisoned unjustly, God opened an incredible door for him to become a ruler in Egypt. His journey was filled with pain and injustice, yet every challenge prepared him for the moment when God would elevate him. The opportunities that came Joseph's way were not random, they were divinely orchestrated to align with God's ultimate plan for his life. In the same way, when opportunities for growth appear in your life, recognize them as part of God's greater plan. These opportunities are also a form of God's justice, because they often stand in stark contrast to the intentions of those who hurt you. While they may have tried to bring you down, God is lifting you up. While they may have sought to limit your potential, God is expanding it. This juxtaposition is not about revenge, but about revelation. It reveals that no matter what others do, God's plans for your life will always prevail. Opportunities for growth can also be deeply spiritual. They may come in the form of a renewed relationship with God, a deeper understanding of His Word, or a strengthened prayer life. Pain has a way of drawing us closer to Him, and when we lean into that connection, we find doors opening that we never knew existed. These moments of spiritual growth are some of the most powerful ways God works to bring justice into your life. They remind you that His ultimate goal is not just to address the wrongs done to you, but to bring you closer to Him. Sometimes, these opportunities require you to let go of what you've been holding on to, whether it's the hurt, the desire for revenge, or the hope that the person who hurt you will change. Letting go creates space for God to work, and in that space He plants seeds of opportunity. It's a challenging process, But as you take steps toward growth, you begin to see the beauty in what God is doing. You realize that the opportunities before you are not just about moving past the pain, but about stepping into the fullness of what God has prepared for you. It's also important to recognize that these opportunities for growth are not just about you. They're part of a larger narrative that God is weaving. As you grow and heal, you become a testament to His faithfulness and a source of hope for others. Your story of overcoming hurt and embracing growth becomes a beacon of light for those who are still in the midst of their struggles. This is another way God's justice manifests, by using your life to inspire and uplift others. May God. As you embrace these opportunities, you may notice that the people who hurt you begin to take notice. They see your growth, your progress, and the new doors opening in your life, and it serves as a silent testament to the power of God's justice. Their attempts to bring you down have not succeeded. This is not about rubbing your success in their faces, but about demonstrating the truth that God's justice is real, His timing is perfect, and His plans for you are unshakable. When you encounter these opportunities for growth, step into them boldly. They are not coincidences. They are signs that God is working in your life in ways you may not fully understand yet. Trust in His plan, embrace the new paths He is leading you on, and remember that every step forward is a testament to His justice and love. Sign 5. A clear sign in your spirit to let go. Letting go is one of the hardest things you'll ever be called to do, especially when you've been deeply hurt by someone you trusted or loved. The human heart clings tightly to its pain, not out of desire, but because pain feels like the only tangible proof of what you've endured. Yet one of the clearest signs that God's justice is unfolding is when you feel an undeniable tug in your spirit, telling you it's time to release that pain, that person, or that situation into His hands. Let go of the pain. Look how glorious and high it brings you into the air. Let go of the pain can be pleasurable or high. Let go of this isn't a fleeting thought or a vague sense of resolution. It's a deep spiritual clarity that almost feels like a whisper from God Himself. Let go and trust me. This divine sign does not come by accident, nor does it arise out of sheer willpower. It comes when God has already begun the process of justice in ways you might not fully see yet. His justice doesn't just address the actions of others. It works to free you from the chains of anger, bitterness, and resentment that keep you bound to the hurt. The moment you feel this nudge to let go, it's not because you're giving up or ignoring the injustice. It's because God is inviting you to step out of the battle and let Him take over entirely. Letting go is not a passive act. It takes extraordinary strength and courage to release the desire to hold someone accountable, especially when you've carried the weight of their actions for so long. The world might tell you that letting go means weakness, but in God's kingdom, it is a profound act of faith. It says, "Lord, I trust you more than I trust myself. I trust that you see what I cannot see, and that your justice will accomplish what my anger never could." When you feel this clarity in your spirit, it often comes with a sense of peace, even if the circumstances around you remain unchanged. This peace is God's way of affirming that He is already at work. You might not have all the answers, and you might not see how things will unfold, but there's an unshakable assurance that you no longer need to carry the burden of figuring it out. This clarity is a gift, a reminder that God's justice doesn't rely on your efforts or interventions, but on His perfect timing and wisdom. Letting go also allows you to shift your focus from the wrongs committed against you to the healing and growth God has planned for you. As long as you hold on to the pain, you remain tethered to the person or situation that caused it. But when you let go, you free yourself to move forward into the life God has prepared for you. This is why letting go is a pivotal moment in the journey toward justice. It's the point where you stop looking back and start stepping into what's ahead. Impossible as it may seem, letting go will stir things. Think of the story of Moses leading the Israelites out of Egypt. They had been enslaved for generations, and God had promised to deliver them. But even after witnessing miracles and signs, they struggled to let go of their past. At times, they even longed to return to Egypt, unable to fully trust in the freedom God was offering. Yet, God continued to lead them, showing them time and again that His promises were true. In the same way, when you feel the call to let go, it's an invitation to trust that God's justice is not just about addressing the past, but about leading you into a future that is free and abundant. This spiritual clarity to let go doesn't mean you forget what happened or pretend the pain didn't exist. Instead, it means you release the power it holds over you. It means you stop replaying the hurt in your mind, stop seeking validation from those who wronged you, and stop waiting for them to acknowledge what they did. It's not about excusing their behavior. It's about choosing to no longer let it define your life. By letting go, you make space for God to fill your heart with peace, joy, and purpose. You may wonder, how do I know when it's time to let go? The truth is, God makes it unmistakably clear. It might come through a quiet moment of prayer when you feel His presence so strongly that you know He's asking you to trust Him. It might come through a scripture that resonates deeply with your situation, reminding you of His promises. Or it might come through circumstances that show you, without a doubt, that holding on is only causing you more pain. However it happens, you'll know because the clarity will be undeniable. It won't feel forced or rushed. It will feel like a release. Letting go doesn't mean the person who hurt you escapes accountability. In fact, it's often the opposite. When you let go, you remove yourself from the equation, allowing God to work in ways that you could never achieve on your own. Your silence and trust become a powerful testimony to God's justice. The person who wronged you will still face the consequences of their actions. But that process is now in God's hands, not yours. Letting go is not about abandoning justice. It's about entrusting it to the one who executes it perfectly. It's also important to understand that letting go is not a one-time event. It's a process, and there will be moments when the pain resurfaces or the memories flood back. In those times, remind yourself that letting go is a choice you make every day, a choice to trust God over your own instincts. It's okay to feel the hurt, but don't let it pull you back into the cycle of anger and bitterness. Each time you choose to let go, you strengthen your faith and open yourself to the blessings God has in store. Letting go is also an act of love. Love for yourself and love for God. When you release the burden of seeking justice on your own, you honor the fact that you are worth more than the pain you've endured. You acknowledge that God's love for you is greater than the harm others have caused. And in doing so, you allow His love to heal your wounds and restore your spirit. This sign is one of the most transformative because it shifts the entire focus of your journey. It's no longer about what was done to you, but about what God is doing for you. It's about stepping out of the shadow of pain and into the light of His grace. It's about realizing that your identity is not tied to the hurt, but to the hope and future God has promised. When you feel that nudge in your spirit to let go, don't ignore it. Embrace it as a sign that God's justice is already at work. Trust Him to handle what you cannot, and allow Him to lead you into a life of freedom, healing, and purpose. As we come to the end of this journey, let these signs serve as a reminder that God's justice is not a distant hope, but a living reality. Every pain you've endured, every tear you've cried, and every moment you've felt overlooked has not gone unnoticed by the one who sees all and knows all. His justice is not bound by time, nor is it limited by human understanding. It moves in ways that are often hidden at first, but when it is revealed, it brings healing, restoration, and undeniable clarity. The shifts in your circumstances, the unexplainable peace that fills your heart, the exposure of the truth through the actions of others, the new opportunities for growth, and the divine nudge to let go. All of these are signs that God is working on your behalf. He is not just addressing the wrongs done to you, He is using them to shape you into the person He created you to be. The pain you've endured is not the end of your story. It is the foundation for a testimony that will inspire and uplift others. Remember, silence is not surrender. Trusting God's justice is not weakness. It is a declaration of faith. When you choose to remain silent, to let go, and to focus on the opportunities He places before you, you are making room for His power to shine in your life. You are stepping aside so that His justice can unfold in ways that not only restore you, but also reveal His glory to the world. Song. So, my dear friend, hold on to these truths. You are not forgotten. Your pain is not overlooked, and the justice you seek is already on its way. Trust in the one who fights your battles, who heals your wounds, and who writes the final chapter of your story. His plans for you are greater than anything you could imagine, and His justice is always perfect. Thank you for joining me today. May these words bring comfort to your heart, strength to your spirit, and renewed faith in God's unwavering love and justice. Stay patient, stay faithful, and let God do what only He can do. Until next time, may you walk in His peace and trust in His promises. God bless you.